Welcome to Uncaged, a show that celebrates thought leadership from today's top business leaders. The program provides a voice to amazing executives from around the globe who are shaping the world of business today and mapping the path to the commerce of tomorrow. Today, we're speaking with Alex Vera. Hey, Alex, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I am well. Alex, I'm excited to talk to you, certainly because I come from the world of branding and advertising and marketing, and we're going to be talking a lot about that today. Alex is currently the VP of Creative and Strategy at SGK. SGK is an excellent firm. We'll talk more about the work that they do and what Alex is spearheading there. But before we get there, Alex, tell us a little bit about your background in the world of marketing and creativity.
Yeah, thanks so much, Brand. It's a pleasure to be on with you today and appreciate the platform and the time for sure. A little bit about my background. I actually started my career in industrial design as a creative and was always passionate about the areas where the different disciplines of design are required to intersect in order for a project or an initiative to be a success. And so I always found myself sort of gravitating to these multidisciplinary areas, which led me to, this continual broadening of my career. It led me to to begin to understand art direction and to begin to understand that intersection between business and creative that I believe any creative leader needs to have in order to sort of run a successful team or a successful business. So over the years, that led me to retail. It led me to activations and experiential, and eventually to SGK's brand experience offering where I sit today.
And I mean, SGK is really an excellent firm, but tell me a little bit more about what's going on there and your role.
Yeah, absolutely. So SGK, as a lot of folks know, has a rich history in packaging creative. But over the years, that has evolved just as so much of our marketing and creative universe has evolved. As consumers see the world and they see brands differently, we have started to create new ways to address problems with brands and their consumers. So I currently oversee a team that goes to market as the brand experience offering within SGK. It's an end-to-end agency service, starting with front-end research and strategy and driving all the way through the production of the creative. And our focus really is on the authentic moments that we can build between brand and consumer that brings those consumers and those brands closer together.
I love that. Well, I mean, let's delve a little bit deeper into this topic of experience. Alex, I know you have some pretty strong views on how you approach this space. So tell me a little bit more about kind of what's your philosophical approach and how you guys go about thinking about this stuff.
Yeah, fundamentally, one of the things that we believe is that the consumer landscape has only continued to evolve and speed as products show up to market faster, as consumers really start to own their own consumer journey. Long gone are the days of the linear path to purchase, right? The whole, awareness, consideration, purchase, loyalty thing really has been blown up into a million different potential touch points that the consumer now owns. And so, with the consumer having that mobile device in their hands or access to technology or access to your brand, they really drive that interaction. And so what we've done is we've really created a methodology that allows us to create enriching moments along that journey. We like to call it sort of drawing the constellation and the stars for our brands that help connect dots. We believe that the place where brands can really make an impact with their consumers and really drive success in the marketplace is when those experiences are not only enriching, but they're connected. So as opposed to driving a linear channel through that marketing spectrum, we think about it more as a marketing ecosystem, a place where we can create a unique set of touch points for that consumer to experience the brand in very real ways.
So really to kind of think about experience as a collective, holistic path in a way, that kind of comes together and providing that dimensionalized story. I really like that. I mean, the reality is that consumers do have a lot more control today. They're moving into all of these new areas. I mean, how do you navigate everything from broadcast all the way through to the metaverse these days?
Yeah, the good old new metaverse, right? Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think one of the things that we're starting to see is that the impact of any one particular channel is being minimized, right? So when you look at broadcast media and advertising is a really great case study, or even the shelf where packaging lives is another interesting case study. Both of those are experiencing similar disruption. It's much more difficult to grab that consumer and to have them generate a true interest in your brand through those classic mediums. And so what we've found is by blending and mixing those touch points, by integrating a physical experience with a social campaign, by driving connected content through a physical artifact and connecting some of those dots dynamically, we're able to live in that consumer's world, live in that consumer's ecosystem much more successfully. We've done a lot of work with clients in the influencer marketing space where we're able to take a physical experience, deliver it on TikTok or deliver it via Instagram, and generate the type of connectivity that we used to see from more traditional advertising mediums.
I love that. And I mean, Alex, we're living at an interesting moment. Here we are in the middle of, let's say, an economic downturn cycle. It's hard to know. Maybe we're at the end of it. It's hard to really read the situation. All I know is that it's certainly a changed landscape. And I was just curious to kind of hear, how are brands thinking about this? How are your customers thinking about this and maybe approaching some of the areas that you guys work on?
It's an interesting question. Most of the clients that we serve live in the lifestyle space, the innovator space, the disruptor space, and those types of brands, will always see opportunity in the face of a challenge.
Yeah.
And so, I think we're very fortunate in that way. But we also have a large segment of our client base that are interested in that lifestyle-led consumer. But they're interested in approaching it in a different way. So when we look at some of our CPG clients as an example, right, we talk about it as, taking those clients from the shelf to the streets. It's one thing in the old days to win at the shelf. It's a whole different world when you're trying to connect to culture. And I think when you're able to take some of that language, to take some of the approach that a nimble, disruptive brand might take and really address culture, we're able to make change even in a challenging market. The one thing that I'll build on there as well is a lot of our clients are really finding success even in challenging markets by connecting to spaces where eyeballs already exist, right? So in the advertising space for the longest time, hey, if you had the budget to run a Super Bowl ad, you're winning, right? Well, today we're activating, a dozen or so physical experiences around Super Bowl in the coming weeks that will then lead to social content. They will lead to other connected touch points. And so without that multi-million-dollar ad spend, we're still able to leverage a big event like the Super Bowl or like World Athletic Championships this past summer to be able to drive connection for our clients.
That's great. And as someone who's played around with the Super Bowl and seen that happen, when Oreo did their first kind of tie up with Instagram back in the day and all of those types of things, they really did pop. And I can certainly see the way that can work for a brand even to this day, especially even with what you're saying, physical locations, taking that to the next level, offering that richer experience. But if you were to kind of look out in the landscape, where are you seeing the real kind of almost the truffles that are out there? Where's the space that you're seeing like, wow, this has been undermined. This is exciting to get deeper there?
Yeah, I think a lot of the truffles, to use your language, are in the connective tissue. They're in those spaces in between, right? And so I think that's why it's so important to talk about a brand's impact on the consumer as a connected ecosystem, because it's in those little gaps, right? It's in that moment when they maybe saw you at a local event, and now they're on their way to seeing you in store, and there's a mobile experience happening, or there's a short form digital experience happening. When you start thinking about those touch points as part of a connected organism or part of a connected ecosystem, there's a lot of gold in that connective tissue, because that's where oftentimes brands end up disconnected. You've got a great social strategy, you've got a great retail strategy, you've got a great media and advertising strategy, but it's in those spaces in between where that consumer spins off and starts to find other content. So if you can really work to connect those dots and make it feel like a connected experience for the consumer, a lot of the real magic happens in those spaces.
Yeah, no, and I loved what you were talking about with the kind of influencer space and what people can do there and how new brands are really kind of growing there. In fact, I would probably kind of just add, it's really in those spaces where you see perhaps the next phase of growth for all companies will appear, right? I mean, and certainly I think on channels like TikTok today, the number of new products that we're seeing promoted there is phenomenal. I mean, let me take a little bit of a shift here and ask you, Alex. I mean, the last couple of years have been fascinating and tough. You know, we've gone through the pandemic, and that certainly altered the way we work and lived our lives. Are you seeing a fundamental shift in what that mix of touch points are now? And, you know, what's your take on where this is going to evolve to?
Yeah, I mean, the recipe is definitely different. A lot of the ingredients are the same, but the recipe is definitely different. I think, you know, a lot of brands have accelerated their digital strategies for sure. I think, you know, the concepts like the metaverse, concepts like virtual and augmented experiences are certainly making a dent in the types of ways that brands can communicate and connect with their consumers. And I really think that just as brands embraced e-commerce and the internet decades ago, now with this sort of Web 3.0, the virtual opportunities that are expressed there, the augmented content opportunities that are expressed, I think are really starting to move out of the world of novelty, and people are really starting to find what the business success can be with those vehicles. You know, it's funny, I was just having a conversation with one of our creative directors around AI technology and whether AI is going to replace designers one day, right? And the answer that I gave him is the same answer that I gave when e-commerce attacked retail. It's the same answer that I'll give when social, you know, becomes an easier place to transact. The individuals, the creatives, the organizations, the agencies that know how to solve problems will learn how to leverage those tools, and they'll be the organizations that win. It's really about the problem solving at the end of the day. All of the technology, all of the advancement, all of the innovation is all wonderful. They're new tools that we can now learn how to use to deliver those experiences to the consumer.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I actually wrote a dissertation on that topic about 2 years ago. And a lot of the stuff that you're seeing now roll out, like ChatGPT, it's really not new, to be honest. It's been in development for a long, long time. And so it's interesting to kind of see how people have grokked it now. They're really kind of getting excited about it right now. And to your colleagues' perspective, the fear factor of like, well, what does this mean for my job? You know, what does it mean for my sense of purpose? It's a fascinating thing. I would say that one of the things that came out in my research was that there were very few organizations that were embracing what you just outlined, which is it does change the nature of work. I mean, like the role of a designer shifts. So if you think about kind of like that traditional hierarchy and pathway of what a creative person does, you know, to get to where they are, where you are, you know, in a leadership position, you know, you had to start doing the nasty stuff and then you moved up and moved, you know, et cetera, et cetera. That kind of goes away, you know, in the sense that you have a lot of those steps that suddenly are automated. And so it does put a lot more stress on the creativity and the integration and some of those kind of higher order challenges. And so it will push talent to be really more thoughtful and creative. I imagine you're similar to me. You know, when I was a young upstart, I just wanted to sink my teeth into something creative and to you know, do something cool and win some awards maybe. And, you know, maybe that's going to happen faster. I don't know, but it's going to be the people who know how to bring those areas together, as you say, that will be key. It's fascinating that AI has captured the imagination of everyone right now. And I think about the conversation that we just had about kind of all those touch points. I'd just be curious to get your take on some of the stuff that we saw really kind of coming out over the last couple of years. It was the NFTs connected to the Web3 space. Are you seeing some promise there and kind of maybe a 2.0 version of some of those things?
I really am. I think when you start to see brands that really understand how to market to a consumer, right? And I'll use the logo on my chest as an example, right? When you start to see Nike really figure out how to commercialize the NFT space and have it go from this sort of niche, big highs, big lows conversation to, no, this is an everyday part of the practice, right? If you're going to have an expression of yourself in a virtual space, you want to have that expression of yourself with the things, with the artifacts, with the visuals that make you who you are as a person. And brands play a role in that ecosystem. Brands play a role in how people show up and what they stand for and what they believe in. Consumers want that in reverse. Consumers have taught us over the past 10 years with, the millennial Gen Z influx in the consumer space. They really care about what a brand stands for and what they mean, what their beliefs are. And I think these are all vehicles through which to express that. I'll go back to your comment as well. I think you're so spot on in terms of, these evolving tool sets and how to bring them together. Every time a tool set evolves or a technology shows itself into the world, what it really does is it highlights the true purpose of why that creative is there, and that's to solve problems, right? So there are folks that are really wonderful at making beautiful imagery. There are folks that are really wonderful at creating art, right? But at the end of the day, whether you're in marketing or you're in product development or you're in R&D or you're an architect, if you're in a creative field, if you're a designer, you're really there to solve a problem. You're there to solve a problem using design thinking, leveraging process, and your creativity.
Yeah, I also think it will definitely, how should I say, expose people sooner in a way. There's a lot of people that kind of get out there and they've made their career really just being very, very excellent executioners. They'll deliver one specific thing, but this world really requires more integrated thinking, more truly creative thinking. And that is really difficult. That's why there are so few people that do it very, very well. But I think it's very, very exciting. Alex, it's been amazing chatting with you. As you look forward here in 2023, what's on the docket?
Well, it's an exciting year. I think, as you mentioned, we've been on this bumpy road to recovery, right? In the economy. We don't really know whether it's up or down right now, but we know that we're in this post-pandemic space. One of the things that we're really, really excited about is our continued evolution in broadening what that brand ecosystem means. We are launching scaled content services to help deliver some of our creative in new and different ways, leveraging things like AI to scale the way that we deliver our creative. And clients are really gravitating to this concept of this connected set of experiences really being a driver for their business. A lot of brands are starting to see the value in a lifestyle brand driven approach. And so whether it's a brand that is about outdoor lifestyle and cooking like a Traeger, or it's a classic sportswear brand like a Nike, the goal really is to deliver in a way that attaches to culture and that attaches to that lifestyle and delivers what that brand means to the consumer. We're seeing that more and more. We're anticipating some really nice growth this year, so we're excited for that. I think the way that we deliver ourselves both physically and digitally is just going to continue to evolve. So we're really stoked to see what 2023 brings for us.
That's great to hear. Well, Alex, thanks so much for being on Uncaged. We've been speaking with Alex Vera. He is the VP of Creative and Strategy at SGK. Many of you do know SGK that's out there, but they're a major player. They have studios in Portland, San Francisco, Chicago, Baltimore, New York, Atlanta. I'm sure I'm missing some, Alex, along the way, but they have a shared passion for creating physical and digital experiences that bring brands and consumers closer together in meaningful and authentic ways. And we've been talking to Alex about really that integrated process of kind of looking at all of the touch points, all of those moments, and putting them together in exciting ways to find that synergistic experience that can add dimension to the story, but also unlock a lot more value. And so it sounds like Alex and his team are working on some of the most fun projects that you can imagine. And I look forward to see what comes out of that stuff in the near future. It's great to have you
Thanks
on
so
the
much
show.
for the time. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.